March 31, 2004, four American private military contractors, Scott Helvenston, Jerry Zovko, Wesley Batalona, and Mike Teague, were driving through Fallujah when they were ambushed. The men were pulled from their vehicles, executed in the street, and their bodies were desecrated. Two of them were burned and hung from the girders of a bridge spanning the Euphrates River. The images were broadcast worldwide, charred corpses swinging in the air, crowds of civilians cheering below. November 2004. The Second Battle of Fallujah, the deadliest urban battle of the Iraq War, had begun. It raged street by street, block by block. Marines of the 1st Battalion, 8th Regiment fought their way through a city-turned fortress. This was the first battle of the coalition offensive with the sole objective of flushing out Iraqi insurgents from the country, the same insurgents that were responsible for the gruesome deaths of the four American contractors. When Americans back home heard of the killings, it was a disgusting reminder of the brutality of the insurgency. For the Marines already deployed in Iraq, it was personal. The U.S. military responded quickly. The First Battle of Fallujah was launched in April 2004, with Marines ordered to clear the city and punish those responsible. The fight was brutal, but it quickly became a political firestorm. Images of civilian casualties flooded Arab media, sparking outrage. Under pressure from the Iraqi Governing Council and international critics, Washington called off the operation halfway through. The Marines were ordered to pull back. To the insurgents, it was a victory, proof that the United States could be forced to retreat. Fallujah was left in enemy hands. In the months that followed, the city transformed into the insurgency's most fortified stronghold in Iraq. Fighters from Al-Qaeda in Iraq, foreign jihadists, and local militias turned the city into a fortress of IEDs, tunnels, and kill zones. Fallujah became a symbol, the heart of resistance against the American occupation. By late 2004, U.S. commanders knew they had no choice. If Fallujah remained under insurgent control, it would continue to supply fighters and weapons across Iraq. In November, a new operation was approved. This time, there would be no pause, no withdrawal. The Marines, alongside U.S. Army units and British support, would assault the city with overwhelming force. The mission: Operation Phantom Fury, the largest urban battle fought by American troops since Hue City in Vietnam. The battle started in the early hours of November 7, 2004, when the Iraqi 36th Commando Battalion, backed by U.S. Army Special Forces, stormed the Fallujah General Hospital. The seizure was swift and deliberate. The hospital had been a propaganda hub for insurgents, broadcasting inflated casualty numbers to the Arab world. Securing it was as much about perception as it was about battlefield medicine. At the same time, other minor objectives in the west and south of the city were taken in diversionary strikes. Heavy artillery rumbled across the horizon. Mortars thumped. AC-130 gunships carved fiery lines into the night sky, hammering bunkers, machine gun nests, and fortified positions with brutal precision. From the air, Fallujah looked like it was already being consumed by fire. The message was clear. Fallujah was about to be hammered into submission. On November 8th, the real storm broke. Marine regimental combat teams, backed by Army mechanized units, rolled south from the northern edge of the city. Their first objective was the railway, a vital crossing that cut straight into the urban sprawl. By nightfall, they had it. Columns of armor pushed forward, infantry dismounted, and the war turned into a block-by-block grind. Here, the battle shifted. The city's defenders, an estimated 3,000 to 4,000 insurgents, a mix of local fighters, foreign jihadists, and die-hard Ba'athist holdouts, had been waiting. They melted into firing points, spider holes, and houses booby-trapped with IEDs. Every street corner was a kill zone. Every rooftop had a rifle barrel. They fought not to win outright, but to bleed the coalition dry, to make Fallujah a graveyard. What began as a thunderous push turned into a meat grinder. Convoys bogged down, snipers pinned men in alleys, grenades were tossed from unseen windows. The Marines were advancing, but every meter came with a price. This was no clean sweep. This was trench warfare, waged in living rooms and stairwells. On November 13th, The battle for Fallujah turned savage. Across the city, units were bled hard. 1st Battalion, 8th Marines seized 3 strongholds south of the mayor's complex. 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines were pinned in a vicious house-to-house firefight. Alpha Company, 2nd Battalion, the 2nd Infantry lost their commander in an ambush. And the 2nd Battalion, 7th Cavalry faced the chaos of terrified civilians trapped in the crossfire. Regimental Combat Team 1 had drone footage of 30 insurgents massing in fortified buildings. Airstrikes, artillery, tank rounds, it didn't stop them. Colonel Mike Shupp, the regimental commander, put it plainly.
The enemy's not coming out for tanks. We're firing main gun rounds, SMAWs, everything we have into those positions, and they're still firing back. They've fortified every house, mouse holes in the walls, kill rooms in the front. Their goal is simple. Drop the first Marine, then wait. Because they know Marines will do anything to rescue their own.
They weren't just locals. Marines discovered foreign fighters from across the Arab world. Saudis, Syrians, Tunisians, even Chechens. Lieutenant Colin Willard Boole, commanding the 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines, shares his story.
We've got documentation, battle rosters listing nicknames, billets, countries of origin. We counted as many as 18 nationalities. They came from Morocco, Jordan, Syria, and when we hit them, they didn't run. They marched to the sound of the guns.
Many were doped on adrenaline and amphetamines, with tourniquets pre-tied so they could keep fighting even after being shot. Major General Richard Natonski said Abu Ghraib photographs had convinced them that capture meant torture. For the enemy, surrender was not an option. The battle was already in full swing when Kilo Company, 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines, pushed into the Jolan district on November 13th. With legendary sniper Chris Kyle on overwatch, they were ordered to assault a house defended by fanatical Chechen fighters. The struggle inside would go down in Marine Corps history. They would call it, simply, the Hell House.
The push was supposed to be over. We thought we were done. But when 3rd Platoon stepped off, they didn't even make it a block. They hit a house loaded with foreign fighters. First guys in took fire immediately. Within minutes, 4 or 5 Marines were already down.
The squad entered the squat concrete building with 2 stories. Through the first door, there was an entry room. Across the first door, there was a great rectangular room that branched into several other rooms. There was a stairwell on the left side of the great room. The insurgents attacked with automatic fire and grenades from the 2nd floor, shooting down the stairwell at anybody who walked into the great central room. Sergeant Chris Pruitt, who entered the house first with his men, recounts his experience.
We tried to clear room by room, but every doorway was a kill zone. As soon as you stepped in, rounds were snapping past your head. Guys were going down left and right. We had Marines trapped inside, bleeding out, and no way to get to them.
As casualties mounted, Marines tried to fight up the staircase to save their comrades, but the room containing the stairwell was a funnel of death.
I was on the stairs when a grenade went off. Shrapnel tore into my legs and arms. I kept firing, but I couldn't move. A Marine was beside me, shot through the legs. I pulled him close and shielded him with my body. If anyone was going to take the next grenade, it was going to be me.
More Marines forced their way in, trying to reach Kasal and the wounded.
It was chaos. You're firing, dragging guys, throwing grenades up the stairs. Every time we tried to push, another Marine went down. You could feel the building vibrating with gunfire.
Outside, a platoon commander realized the squad was trapped. He called in more firepower.
We tried everything. Machine guns, rockets, even tanks firing point blank into the house. But those guys inside just would not stop. The building shook, but they kept shooting.
With insurgents still inside, options ran out. The order came: destroy the house. The commander, Jesse Grapes, made the call. An explosives expert went in, carrying a satchel of C4. Moments later, the Hell House shuddered, then blew apart, concrete, dust, and bodies merging into a sickening pink mist. The Marines held their ground in silence, the roar fading into ringing ears. For a moment, the fight seemed over. Grape's thoughts turned practical. Weapons, radios, gear scattered in the chaos. They stepped forward, picking their way through smoke and rubble. Then, movement. From beneath the shattered stone, a hand rose. An insurgent, broken, but not dead, pulled the pin on a grenade. The blast shook the ruins. The Marines scattered, then wheeled back, rifles barking into the debris. Dust and tracer fire filled the air, but the figure still twitched in the wreckage. Grapes raised his hand. Ceasefire. He walked forward alone, his boots crunching over jagged concrete. No hesitation. He leveled his rifle and emptied half a magazine into the man's skull. It was brutal, final, necessary. In Fallujah, mercy was a luxury no one could afford. The Hell House wasn't just cleared, it was erased. The battle for Fallujah dragged on for weeks. By the end, over 1,000 insurgents were dead. The city was shattered. But for the Marines, the memory of the Hell House on November 13th would never fade.
You fight for the guy next to you. That's all it ever is. Not politics, not speeches, just Marines doing what Marines do.
By mid-November, the city was shattered, resistance breaking into scattered pockets. Marines called it mopping up, but the fight dragged on into late December. By January 2005, U.S. units were pulling out, leaving behind a ruined city and a displaced population. Operation Phantom Fury would stand as the bloodiest battle of the Iraq War, the fiercest Marine fight since Hue City in Vietnam. Coalition losses topped 100 dead. Insurgent deaths were counted in the thousands, and Fallujah itself lay in ruins. A place once known as the City of Mosques, now scarred by artillery, airstrikes, and fire. It was a victory carved in blood, smoke, and rubble, but a victory over insurgency nonetheless. The Second Battle of Fallujah would be remembered as one of the fiercest urban fights since Hue City in Vietnam. And inside that one house, on that one day, a platoon of Marines wrote their chapter in blood. They called it the Hell House.